Boom, 5:55. That's what's happening here. 5 minutes and 55 seconds. That's how long these readings are going to be, because I realized I was talking way too fucking long before. I've got to be punchy. I don't want to waste your time. So here's the story. Let's get into what's happening in the stars. We have the new moon in Aquarius. So the sun and the moon are united in Aquarius here, as you can see. They are going to be bowing down to Saturn. That's this planet right there. Saturn is in charge of Aquarius and Capricorn. So as you can see, Saturn is doing a lot of guiding work because the sun, the moon, Venus, and Mercury are all chilling in its territory. When it's a new moon, that means at night, of course, that the moon is not visible. It is in the same plane with the sun, so we can't see it. We can't see it at night because it's just not able to shine any of the light back because it's not on the other side of the planet. So as we look to the skies as a guide, it's a time for something new to build. What do you want to create? Since it's Aquarius, it needs to have bones. It needs to last. And it's a masculine sign. Why? Because air is a masculine element. So like sperm has to be ejaculated, it has to go on a journey to meet the egg, and there are many casualties. You know, there's this outward yang energy happening. So what new thing are you going to share? But specifically, since it's Aquarius, it has to do with ideas and structures and boundaries. Luckily, that in charge god, Saturn, the god of death and restriction, it is connected with Venus. Venus is the goddess of love. So what happens when the goddess of love and the goddess of death come together? To me, it's the story of Persephone's coming up. This seeing the beauty in boundaries and restrictions is also coming up. Like the fact that creativity is almost encouraged by boundaries. Like you could say that gravity restricts us in some ways, but at the same time, look at what's possible with the gravity. Like we are all here because of that pull, that limit, that boundary. So Saturn is definitely in charge. For me, this is my 6th house of health and work, and maybe even having people kind of under me, like being in charge of things. So right now, I don't have much going on in that, except for the substitute teaching that I'm doing. That's my main source of income right now. Of course, I have the astrology business. Not enough right now to be full-time, but I can still give energy to that, once I pay my bills. And yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So certainly a new beginning in this period of my life would be good. Fresh eyes on the acting posts. I want to keep on putting myself out there for those kind of submissions. So that's good. But yeah, Saturn is definitely in charge. Mercury is also in his domain or her domain, depending on which sign Saturn's in. Since Saturn is in Aquarius, I'm going more for a he energy. Mercury is bowing down to that Saturn. Mercury in Capricorn is the feminine side of Saturn, so it's really responding to the things around and how can I achieve something that's lasting in response to this environment. So it's an interesting time. It's a very practical, long-term time. I would say this new moon needs to be about the long haul. You over time. Of course, we're not guaranteed a tomorrow. I'm not trying to mitigate that truth, but it's like life expectancy is around 80, right? For most of us. Maybe your health isn't in alignment with that. Maybe you don't want to live that long. I've heard people say all different kinds of things about this, but we've only got 2 minutes left, so I've gotta keep going. So what other planets do we want to discuss? Jupiter is well on its way into Aries. It's already 4 degrees in. So it's past that Neptune conjunction. So we're moving away from that kind of either escapist or humanitarian expansion. Now it's a little bit more individualized. It's a little bit more individualized because Aries is very pioneering and impulsive and going to kind of do what it wants to do the moment it wants to do it. Mars is in charge of Aries. Mars is in Gemini. Thankfully, Mars is direct again. We're out of that retrograde period. That means it's going to move on its way into ouchie Cancer, where it doesn't really like to be. Imagine a warrior not wanting to be in a very nurturing, soft, gentle space that's very intuitive and emotional. It prefers to be in Gemini, but I gotta be honest. Mars hates to be in Taurus because Taurus is very slow and Mars wants to go fast. It hates to be in Cancer because Cancer wants everything to be soft and contained and safe, and this wants to push and cut through. So in Gemini, it's kind of in between both of those states. It's not as bad because it kind of sees, the duality of a situation. It can really talk. Oh man, something like this can really chat. You probably have some words to share, some connections to make. So yeah, it's an interesting chatty time. Again though, this Gemini constellation ends up going back to Saturn because Mercury's in charge of it. There's this trine there between the new moon and Mars though, so there is this sort of chatty communicative heat. There's some ideas flowing perhaps that you can ingest in the same way that these ideas that I'm sharing are something for you to ponder and consider and try to apply. I hope this new format is interesting to y'all. If it is, let me know, share it. I hope that I'm giving the amount that makes sense, and that this new moon reading that's only 5 minutes 55 seconds can give you a sort of taste of the way that this system can provide you ideas. But yeah, Pluto is pretty close to the new moon. It's not exactly conjunct. I think we're at it. That means we're done. It's been a pleasure. Let me snooze that timer. Light, love, and the snake's bite.